Hi, so in this tutorial we're going to be looking at how to get this gargoyle where to get him from, and how you can use other game objects if you want. It doesn't have to be necessarily a gargoyle, it could be like a flower blossoming, and then how to kind of almost rig the game object. We're not really going to do rigging, but we're just going to kind of fix the pivot points for some of these game objects so that we can use them and animate them efficiently. Please make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already, so you can see the future tutorials. Maybe even leave a comment if this helps you out as well. I'd really appreciate that. Alright, let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is set up our our actual environment for ARCore. Now I've done that already, so if you need help doing that, I suggest you look at the quick start for Unity ARCore guide, as well as my previous videos, ARCore out, the beta and floor seeding tracking video, where I actually go through how to set that basic first seed up. Once you've got to that point, then we want to actually find an object. So in this case we're going to go for a gargoyle. So in a previous video I showed you where you can get free VR and AR assets on a website called Poly, which is here. That's a previous video that I did as well. So this is Poly, the website. Again, if hopefully some of you have been using this and playing around with it. So in this particular case, this video, I'm going to look at the gargoyle. Am I spelling gargoyle right? How do you spell gargoyle? It's not right, is it? Gargoyle. I think that's right. There we go. So I have a gargoyle. I have a gargoyle, which I'm going to download. Now you don't have to do a gargoyle. I just chose a gargoyle because they react to light. They tend to stone when there's sunlight, and when it's dark, they usually fly around. And then you can download the file. I chose an FBX, mainly because an FBX has different aspects to it, like you can look at all the objects within it. I'll show you what I mean. Some of them don't have FBXs, some of them are objects, and some of those OBJ files are still okay as well. Other times they're not. So I downloaded, just to show you, I downloaded this, and you can see in my asset folder I've got gargoyle here. But what you'll also find is that, so here's my model of my gargoyle, and if I take that here, I'll just show you what I mean. So there's a few issues. It's not perfect, right? You can see that this, if I select the gargoyle here, the center point for that gargoyle is over here, which is a bit strange. But and the meshes inside of it are all kind of separate, they're not labeled properly. But look, it's free, and we can work with that, and we can fix that, so it's not too much of a problem. But some models, so I also downloaded the bat, and I'll show you why I didn't use a bat. I was thinking of using a bat. I thought that would work, and maybe we could hang it off of the ceiling, which would be kind of cool, and then when the lights came on it would fly around, maybe fly around the room, and then when we put the lights back on it would fly back to its original position and stop moving. But the bat, which I'll show you now, which was just an OBJ file, which doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have this problem, but it only has, as you can see, it only has one large mesh. And the problem with that is that I can't flap the wings now, right? Because you need to be able to close the wings or open them if you want them to kind of fly around, and I'd like to have that flying effect. So that's why I chose this gargoyle. Now I'm going to get rid of the bat folder by just deleting that from here, because I don't want that in my Unity project. And I'll go back to just looking at the gargoyle. So in this first video, what we're going to just do is I'm going to show you obviously how to get the gargoyle, or you can get any file, anything you want. So I was also going to do a few other things for light estimation, like the bat, for example. a flower which would open and close, maybe a ghost. You can play around with it. You can search things from here. Again, you can search anything you want, and if you remember, you can pick any kind of object you want from here as well. If you are animating it like we're going to be doing in this video, again, you want to make sure that once you have that object with some nice flowers that you can animate possibly, you want to make sure you can open those up again. And of course you can download the object from the Unity Asset Store, and I'll be downloading another object from Unity Asset Store later down the line. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that there's some free, the Unity Asset Store isn't the only place that you can download objects, there's other places too. Okay, so in this first part we're going to just fix these joints. So why am I going to fix these joints? Well, I want this, and excuse me, I've got a bit of hay fever and a bit of a cold as well, which is a bit of a bad combo, so you might hear me sniffling a little bit. But the reason we want to change these pivot points, see, at the moment usually the pivot point would be kind of around here, but it's not, it's all the way over here. The reason we want to pivot this, we're going to change the pivot point from here to around here for the wing, is because when we animate this, we want the wings to be flapping, right? That's how it looks like when it's flying. And now, and to do the flapping, we just want to do a simple rotation by selecting the rotation tool and flapping up and down. But you can see the flapping, that's not going to work, right? Flapping, no animal flaps his wings like that. And the reason why it's doing it is because the pivot, the center point is over here. I'm just going to hit Control and Z. What we actually want is it to be here and it to flap this way, right? Around the gargoyle as if it's trying to fly. And what you'll notice is all of these, every single mesh is kind of far away from the 0, 0 point. This is the 0, 0 point. Even though the model's on 0, 0, none of these are actually on 0. Well, they are on 0, 0, but their 0, 0 has been offset based on how it was made in the editor that they used. So we're going to have to fix that. Now, there's two groups here. And that's all we're going to be doing in this video, and we'll do a little bit more in the next video. So there's two groups here. This second group is just this belt buckle. So I'm just going to take this belt buckle and put it in here. It's going to break the prefab, but I don't really mind. And then I'm going to delete this other group because we'll make our own groups later on. But right now, I want to just shift these across. So let's do that first. I'm going to move this, every single object that I have in here, by selecting them all, and because they're all off, which is actually, in some ways, it's not so bad really, because they're all off. And I'm going to move them down to around here. Now the camera's in a center point already, which kind of helps, which means we should be able to put this roughly in the middle using the camera and using this as well. Now 0, 0 should be here. So I'm going to move this even more to around there. I'm going to check where this is. That's the middle of the camera. So let's just move this here. I think that's okay now. It's kind of in the middle, 0, 0, where you would expect it to be. So now, when I select the model, you can see the model's in the right place now, which means we can set this in the right place, and I can select the whole group. I can shift the group up so that well, we don't need to shift that up, but if we needed to have it so the feet were on the ground, then we could shift it up, but the middle point's fine actually. So the only other thing we need to do now is change the individual parts of it, like the wing, because the wing's way off over here, which is not helpful. So to do that, we're going to make some separate groups inside of here, like a wing group, the left wing group and the right wing group. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go and create an empty object, and that's already set to 0, 0, which is okay for now, as in that's how you would expect it to be, but we don't want it to really be there. We want it to be kind of here, because that's like where the corner of the wing is, right? The edge of that wing is the body of the shoulder is, the shoulder point actually, it's more accurate. And I think that's right, I'm not sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little sphere in here. The sphere is huge, but it's alright. Let's just shrink this down to 0, 0, 1, and 0, 0, 1, 0.01, and then 0.01 again, So if I double click this sphere, you can see now it's not quite where it needs to be. We want it to be in the shoulder joint. So let's bring this back to about here. Now the wings, where's the wings? The wings are around here, aren't they? So let's bring that there, and let's bring it to around there. I think that's about right. Now, if you imagine this is the pivot point, it's not going to be perfect, by the way, but we can get it. I think that's pretty good. Let's go with that for now, and let's see how that will look. So I'm going to save this as left wing. That will do. So this is the left wing from, if we're looking at it from here, right? It's the left wing. Just in case some of you are wondering, well, actually that's the right hand side, but actually it's his left wing. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put all of these wing style objects into that left wing. So that's one wing, right? And then once I put it in there, I'm also going to just switch it off. And that's just so that I can see what's left. And now I can actually just do this quite easily. And select that one in here. Left wing again, switch it off. And I think that's actually all of the wing objects. So that's good for the left wing anyway. So let's put this back on again. Now what I can do is I should be able to flap the left wing now just by changing this game object. Now that's much better, right? That's what you expect from a flapping wing, as opposed to what we had before. So I'm going to do that again now, but this time I'm going to do it for the right wing. The right wing. That was right. I did say the right thing. Okay. Here we go. Let's try this again. Right wing. There we go. And now the point of this is going to have to be kind of the same place. So I'm going to take this sphere that we had last time. I'm going to put it inside the right wing. I'm going to center this sphere as well, because it's more shifted where the left wing was. And let's just have a look at this right wing. So this right wing is here, right, and the sphere is inside of it, which is where it should be. And now if I move this, notice I'm moving the right wing up the sphere. I'm going to move the right wing up the sphere just so that we can see more accurately whereabouts this needs to be, how far away we are from it. So I'm move that back to about there. A little bit lower. And I think, is that about right? Maybe I can bring it back a little bit. There. Now it's a bit fiddly, I know. And if we wanted to do this for all of his body, we could. Obviously, if you download something, the Unity Asset Store, it's probably already rigged, which is really useful. But that might mean that's paid, and you might not want to have to pay for it. Also, actually, before I forget, these are free, right? These Unity Asset Stores. But there's one thing you have to do, which I almost forgot to do, and luckily I remembered, is you have to, and I'll show you here, you have to credit the creator of these, which I think is totally fair. I think that's, this person has put in quite a bit of hard work. So it just says, oh, this content is published under CC BY license. You're free to use this as long as you credit the author. So the author, it says it's anonymous, but I could have sworn there was a name there, which is weird. Unless maybe it hasn't loaded because it didn't refresh. I'm gonna try and refresh it, because I could have sworn there was and I wouldn't want that person not to feel like they want. I have a feeling that Google didn't, that there's just some sort of loading issue here. Actually, you can see I'm trying to load it. So I'm not going to be able to credit them, which is frustrating. But what I'll do is I'll leave a link to this model in the video. And I'm not selling this, so it's not so bad anyway. But yeah, obviously, make sure you do credit the user. It's only fair to do so. Okay, so yeah, like I was saying, it's a bit fiddly to do this kind of stuff. But the good thing is, it's it just costs you time. It just costs you time. And if you're developing, if you're new to development as well, it's kind of a good thing to practice as well. Okay, so I've selected that wing. I'm going to try and bring it down to our right wing now. Great. I'm going to switch that off so I can just see what's left. What remains of this wing. There we go. Let's take that down again. Put that in the right wing as well. Switch it off so I can just see. Yep, that's everything. So now we have a left wing and a right wing, both of which should be able to flap. Let's just switch that on and off again. There we go. Let's see how it looks if I hit the rotation key. There we go. Look at that. That's great. Now we could do all the other things. We could do the hand animation and could do quite a lot of detail if we wanted to, but I'm not going to go that far for this tutorial. What I am going to do now is probably shrink this down a little bit. Okay, so let me actually also just make a prefab of this gargoyle as well. So that should be done, and then I can put him here like that into assets. So don't delete the original model, because if you delete the model you'll lose this gargoyle. This gargoyle is actually made of this model, so don't delete that. And we're going to shrink this down. By the way, I realized that some of you might see a solid color here instead of what I was seeing before. So if you do have that, just go change it to skybox, and you should be able to see it a bit more like this if you have that issue. Okay, so I want to also, so I want to change the size of him, and I'm going to use our Andy prefab, which I think should be in the prefabs folder. Let's take Andy in here. So that's Andy. You can see the gargoyle is massive compared to him. I do want the gargoyle to be pretty big, but I'm actually, well, it could be huge, but I'm going to shrink him down, because actually what's the point of having him massive? I'm just going to leave him like that. That'll do for me. I think that's big enough. I wonder, should I make him, let's make him should round him up to 3. I think that would be better really to do that. So let's round him up to 3 like so, and then let's get rid of the Andy prefab because we don't need him. Okay, so we have our gargoyle there, and what I want to do now, now he's at the right size, so I want to animate him. Actually, I'm going to just click on this forward button and have a look at something first. You can see now actually his forward, he's kind of front, he's facing the wrong way. That's forward for him, which is not what we want. We want it to be the other way around. So I'm also going to just take the group and his left and right wing, and I want to spin the whole thing around. I believe if I take his left wing and right wing and put him inside of the group like so, I'm going to break the prefab again, but let's do that anyway. And then I can shift his whole body, the rotation of him, by 180. There you go. And it keeps his wings in the right place. Now what I can do is bring the left wing and right wing out if I want to, but I don't think there's a need to, so I'm going to leave them in there, because that way I can rotate his whole body, rotate this whole group, and his body is looking in the same in the direction it should be. Alright, so the reason I've done that is so that the forward looking is he's looking in the same direction as his forward on the z-axis. That's important for certain things. So I've changed the gargoyle. I'm going to hit apply again, so that now the prefab for this gargoyle is the same as this one. And again, 0, 0, 0, everything's set correctly. So I think we're really ready to kind of start animating him now. Let's just double check the left wing and right wing. There we go, left wing, right wing. Alright, I'm going to just control and Z those. The reason I'm controlling and Zing it is because where they start off as is where I want them to always kind of be in the prefab. So that's a good point to start animating them at, since I know they're always going to start at that point. Okay, so let's continue this in the next tutorial.